So I kind of kicked myself for not making reviews of these as I bought all the parts for my new computer. Got a second chance with this one. Now, some of you might know the story behind it, but I don't want anybody to start off on a bad note just because of the history here. But I got this CPU cooler. It's an all-in-one water cooling package. This is my first time messing around with liquid cooling, and I didn't want to mess with having to cut hoses and line everything up, make sure there were no leaks and all that. So I went with an all-in-one. The original one that I got, the pump burnout in it, it can happen to anybody. Like I said, I don't want to start off on a bad note and get a bad taste in someone's mouth for it, but any company makes a lemon every now and then. I contacted customer support, had to send them a little bit of information, photographs that I owned it, proof of purchase, that kind of thing. Immediately they agreed to take care of the issue. Less than a week later, I got my replacement. It's been one of the best customer service experiences I've had. So to get that out of the way, there's nothing wrong with the product. I just got a bad one, and they did everything they could to fix it as fast as possible. They didn't even make me send back the bad one. They just immediately sent me out a new one. So no cost to myself for return shipping or anything. So can't knock them for that. And then on top of everything else, they also included one of their new premium fans for free, just for the trouble of having to return. Anyway, that said, I'm going to get right in now that I have a second chance to do this and show you what all comes with this. So inside the box, everything's kind of shiny in the wrappers, but we have our two 120mm cooling fans. They're really nice fans. When I get them out, I'll show them to you. We have our 240mm radiator with the hoses pre-connected, pre-filled with coolant, and then we have our block with built-in water pump, all in one piece. It also comes with a bunch of different accessories for different mounting options for AMD and Intel. There's like 3 or 4 whole packages of hardware, and they all explain which ones to use depending on your chipset. Pretty easy to figure out. Most of the bags are labeled right on them, which chips that the parts in those bags are used for. Very easy to figure out, and they even have what numbers the items are. When you look in the instruction manual, it tells you those numbers of what parts to use. Next we have our instruction manual. It's a big fold-out book. My only real complaint about this is that there's little to no actual words in it at all. You have your parts list there, and they list the numbers for each of the parts, like I showed that were on the bags. Then you have a section for AMD chipsets, and a couple different sections for various Intel chipsets. But the entire instructions is done through pictures, which is okay, but at the same time, if you're not very familiar with this type of thing, could be confusing. I guess it saves in poor translations. You also get a fan splitter. Plugs into one of your system fan ports on your motherboard and gives you 4 extra ports off of that, to which plug extra fans into. The only thing I don't like about this is that it doesn't come with a speed controller, so you're diverting basically the power that should go to a single fan up to 4 fans, so they're only getting a percentage of the power they should. Not sure how that works with these type of electronics, but I know most electronics, if you're underpowering them, it can cause issues further down the road. I chose not to use mine, but the option's there if you're short on system fan ports. They also include an extension cord in there in case either the wires to your fans aren't long enough or the wire to the hub isn't long enough for you. Just gives you an extra foot or two there of cord. They have a really nice system badge in there if you're into that kind of stuff. It's got paper plastic over the top. That's why it's got like bubbles in it. But it's actually aluminum. Really nice if you're into putting badges on your case. More and more manufacturers are including these now. Now the radiator and the pump and everything itself is a little unwieldy until you get it mounted in your system because it is all one piece. The hoses are pretty flexible. They're actual plastic hoses, so you gotta be careful, especially this time of year. If you're bringing them in from outside, they might be cold. You don't want to crack the hoses, so I let it sit for a little while to warm up just to be on the safe side. The bright side is the coolant won't freeze, so you don't have to worry about that if your delivery guy drops it on the front porch and leaves it there like they did for me. But as I said, until you get everything installed, it's a little unwieldy because it's all connected. But have our radiator here. Pretty decent cooling system they have set up. It's made to mount dual fans. You have the mounting brackets here. I actually mounted mine to the top of my case with the fans underneath blowing up through, so it's using it as an exhaust. There's lots of different configurations you can run with them though. And down here there is an actual spot to fill the coolant. This is a completely sealed system, so it comes capped off with a warranty sticker over the top. If you break the seal, obviously you void the warranty. But if you wanted to change your coolant to something, if you have a preference or whatever, you can do that with these. More or less though, these are a great starter system, and then by the time you're going to do something like that, you're going to move up to a custom built system anyway. Then we have our block and water pump itself. There's this interesting tube here that's transparent. You can see the fluid inside. The pump's actually down inside there. This whole unit actually lights up red, and this tube lights up because of the light traveling through the liquid. It's kind of interesting. It's very quiet. I was expecting from some of the reviews them to be a little bit noisier than they were, but honestly you can't hear it at all once you get the system up and running. The graphics card fan makes more noise than this thing, so you're never really going to hear it even under hard stress. The unit does come with factory thermal paste. It's pretty much good unless you're going to be doing some overclocking. And I've seen several reviews. People said that it worked just fine. They didn't bother changing it. I almost always use Arctic Silver 5 on mine without even thinking about it. And again, that wasn't the issue with mine. The actual pump itself stopped running, which caused me to have to go get this replacement one. But while the old one was working, it was running perfectly fine and cool. So the actual fans that come with the system are really nice. They're not your standard $1, $2 cheapy fans that you get as replacements or come already installed in cases. There's this really interesting blade design which pushes air at a decent rate for being a small fan. Generally, smaller fans, you lose that airflow. The really nice thing about these is all this black surface on the outside here is actually rubber coated. You can't see it on the video too well, but you can definitely feel it. And the rubber coating is nice because it keeps it from vibrating. And even if the fans were to come loose, you're not going to get that vibration noise through your case. It's a nice insulator there. And the other really nice feature about them is the hubs on them actually pop out. So when you go through and do your maintenance on your system, you can clean out any hair or grime that's gathered up on the hub. And basically the leading cause of the death of system fans. You can keep that nice and clean and keep these things running a long time. And then they just pop back into place and they're good to go. I can't get an angle with my tripod here, so I gotta hold it, so sorry if it's shaky, but there's a look at everything completely installed. Got the radiators hard to see up top here. It's right up against the grill. We have our two fans here. Hoses come down to our pump. Pump's in nice and secure. You do have to be careful not to tighten these screws down too tight. These little metal brackets attached to the pump with these screws here. These little tension screws attached to your back plate, and they have these springs on them. But I hear a lot of people in the forums and things who tighten these down too much. You just want enough tension so that it's on there secure, But if you wrench them right down, what you'll do is they'll snap off the bracket where this screw attaches to the actual pump. So definitely be careful on that. But that's what it looks like all installed. And there's everything back and hooked up as it should be. This might sound a little different. I'm trying to use a different camera here. This one gets a little better video and darker lighting, but doesn't have a tripod mount. So anyway, get in here, turn her on. It's a little extra noisy right now because I didn't have the cooling system hooked up. So I was using just a stock fan on there, so I have all the fans cranked up full speed. But you get an idea what it's like. You can see the water pump there. Up there's our radiator with the fans. And then that surprisingly bright premium fan they sent me. We'll talk about that a little bit after this, but it's right there. Overall, I really like the system. It does a great job of keeping everything cool, and even with that 5 gigahertz processor in there cranking out some serious temperatures, and it manages to keep it at a reasonable amount. As a side note, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, the company sent me one of these for free, and it's a really nice fan. It's actually nicer than the ones that come with the unit itself. And in your box you get your standard adapter cable. You have an extension cable, as well as some mounting screws and a zip tie for wire management. The fan itself is built very similar to the ones that come with the unit. Has that rubberized coating. It's not on the entire area like the other ones were. This is actually plastic on here. But these red areas right here are actually rubberized. And again, that insulates you against any kind of vibration noise. These panels in the corners are actually LEDs. They're available in blue and red, and I'm not sure if they have any other colors. The really outstanding thing about this is the blade design. It has this secondary blade in here that actually channels air. This thing puts out a massive amount of air. I had it plugged in once just to test it out. And just a really interesting design overall. They call it a Gamer Storm TF120. Not sure if they come in other fan sizes. I would think so, but it's definitely worth looking into. I'm trying to get away from fan cooling and move everything over to liquid cooling, but these are definitely something I might look into to replace the fans on the Radiator someday, just for the amount of air that they push. And the fact that they make little to no noise. And these ones again have that detachable blade system so you can clean out the axles. Really like that. They also say that you can use these, you can buy these fans in different colors and mix and match to customize your system a little. But I really like the fact that these come off. The one thing you do have to worry about with these fans and the ones that come with the system itself is these blades are a much firmer plastic than the standard ones that you get in your normal case fans. Normally they have a little bit of flex to them. These are extremely rigid. The downside is that they become very brittle, especially when they're running. I had one of these in a different computer, and while I was in there messing around with some wires, yes, I had the power running. That was my first mistake. But I managed to catch my finger on just the end of one of these blades and actually snapped it clean off. So definitely something to keep a look for, but I really, really like these fans. I can't say enough about them over just any standard fan, and they're really not that expensive, so well worth the price difference, I think. And there's everything all put back together and running. Gonna glare off my screen there. Can't really see the lights through the case as much as I would have hoped. The window on it's quite a bit darker tinted than I thought when I got it. But anyway, that's it for this, and we'll see you in the next video.